Hey everyone! So in this video, I'm going to share with you the exact steps that I would take if I were new to ClickUp. If you don't know me yet, I'm Angie and I've been using ClickUp since 2021. And that's why I can fully relate to those of you who are just getting started with ClickUp. I know, all of those amazing features can be pretty overwhelming. But trust me, once you learn the basics that I'm going to share with you today, you'll feel more confident in using this platform. Alright, so before we begin, I just want to mention that for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using ClickUp's free version. And we'll also be creating a standard task management list for you and your team. So let me share my screen and let's get started. Alright, so as you can see on my screen, this is the blank canvas and this is how it looks when you first log in ClickUp. So the first thing that I would do as a new ClickUp user is to actually configure the notification settings, because this is the usual question that I always get, which is how do I turn off email notifications from ClickUp? So the way how to do that is you go to your profile section in the top right corner of your screen and then click notification settings. And as you can see here, by default, it is there are four ways you can get notified: via inbox, email, browser, and mobile. So for this video, what I would usually do is to actually just disable all these other three except the inbox. So that's it. And then the second thing that I would do is to actually customize the theme and also, update the workspace logo and name as well. So same thing, just go to your profile and then you can see here the themes. This is where you can choose whether you want the light version or the dark version. And you can also choose which color you'd like. So let's just select, let's say violet, and then I will just choose light for this one. And then on the left side, you can click that and go to settings. And here you can actually add your logo. So for example, let's use ClickUp logo in here. Just wait for it to be saved. It's now there. Now we can now change the name as well. So let's just call it, let's say, ClickUp demo. I'll just put one. Save changes. And once it's saved, when you go back to your workspace, as you can see, it's now ClickUp Demo 1. So that's the second thing that I would do. The third thing that I would do is to check the ClickUps that are available for my ClickUp version. So whether you are in the business, unlimited, or free version, you can check here the available apps for you. So just click again to that workspace avatar and then go to apps, choose ClickUps, and here you will see all the list of available apps for you to turn on. Now, I will not go deeper on this on each features, but if you want me to do a separate video for it, let me know in the comment section below. So as a new user, what I would do is just turn on automation, the loom, comment reactions. That would be helpful. Connected search, custom fields. In the custom fields, I would also select this one so that it will allow me to sort the custom fields manually instead of alphabetically. And then I will just make sure that it's applied on all spaces. Custom task ID, no, no. Dependency warning, I will also turn that on so that whenever I try to close a task that are waiting on another task, then it will give me a pop-up warning that asks me whether I'm really sure about closing the task. In the email feature, I will also turn this on, which is allowing to post a reply to emails as threaded replies instead of new comments. And going down, if the not started status group, I will also turn that on. Priority, pulse, quick create statuses, turn that on. Relationship, remap task due dates, I will also do that. Reschedule dependencies as well. Show status progress, I will turn that on as well. It's very good in terms of visual. Sprint points, fine, it's off. It's off. Tags, threaded comments, time estimates roll up, it's all good to be turned on. for now. If you're in the business version, you might want to turn on the total time in status and also the work in progress limits. That's also one thing that you might need in the future. So you can just turn that on. And apart from that, it's all good. So let's go back to our workspace. Now, on the fourth thing that I would do is, of course, to set up a standard task management list. So again, as I mentioned earlier, we will be creating one for your team and then one for yourself. So just a quick overview here of hierarchy in ClickUp, or the structure. So in ClickUp, you have a space, you have a folder, and you also have a list. So let's just say we will be creating our own space, right? And let's just call it, let's say, operations. So we can click in here and then you can add the operations, the name of the space, right? And then you can choose a color. You can also choose a logo for it. And then continue. Now you can just select starter there, doesn't really matter. Default views, I would turn on the board so that it will not be required on this space, right? So anything that you turn on here, every time that you create a list within that space, it will also be required, meaning there will always be a calendar, there will always be a map, for example, or a board. And I don't want that, so I will just turn that off. So it gives you more freedom in terms of what kind of views do you want per each list. So I will just turn that off. And then task statuses here, you can also choose. For this one, you can just select your usual statuses, right? And this one is good, so you can just apply it, right? ClickUps, we don't need to check that anymore because we already did that. And then create space. Now you have your own space here, and then ClickUp will also add you a list in here. So let's just call this list an admin list. I know that ClickUp here allows you to also select icons and then change the color. However, if you are like me who love emojis, I also encourage you to still incorporate emojis to your workspace to just add that kind of life your to your ClickUp account, right? So for here, I will just use the clipboard icon and then I will rename this. Let's call this admin task. And this would be a section for your team. So as you can see here, it applies the list statuses that we applied in the space settings, right? So here you can update the list statuses by clicking these three dots, go to list settings, list statuses, or the easier way is to actually go in these three dots and edit statuses. So as you can see, it says inherit from space. That's the default default selection. But if you want to customize it, you can just go in here, use custom statuses, and then now you can add any other statuses that you want. So for example, the usual and standard that I've seen is in progress, in review, for revision, and pending, or backlog if you want to call it like that. Okay, so you can also change the color of this. So like, for example, let's just make it gray. For revision, let's make it yellow. In review is red. In progress, let's make it pink, right? This one is blue. If you're happy, then you can just click it, apply changes. Now, if you click here, you will be able to see the apply changes, the applied changes, right? All right, so now let's try to add a dummy task here. So I'll just do task 2, task 3, task 4, and task 5. Okay. So as you can see here, if for example, we change one task to in progress, the in progress is the one on top. So this is one of the other questions that I also get, is that how can I interchange the order of the statuses? So the way how you do that is just go in this grouping section and then you just change this to descending. And as you can see, it will now, the to do will now be on top and the in progress will be at the bottom. So you can also close this one. Another thing is that another question that I get as well is that when you complete the task, you usually don't see it here anymore. So usually for the beginner, what they usually do is they will just show the closed task in here like this, which is okay. This is okay in the beginning. However, over time, as you add more tasks, there will be a lot of tasks here. So just imagine if you have, let's say, 100 completed tasks, and that 100 completed task is always loading here. So that might affect the loading speed in a way. And so what I would love to do is to actually just create another view here that shows only the completed task. So we're going to go there later, but I just want to mention that for now. So in this case, for this one, we just want to actually keep all the active, right? Active task in here. So you can rename this. We can call this main view. And then one important thing here is that you want to make sure the autosave for me is always turned on. So if this is not turned on, any changes that you make in the grouping and the filters or even in the columns will not be applied. So that's why it's very important that you make sure this is toggled on. All right. So now let's go with the column. So by default, you have the assignee, due date, priority. What I would add here is comments. Okay. So the comments allows you is actually an efficient way of adding comment to a task. So it removes that kind of friction to having to open the task before you can post a comment. So here, if you open this, if you enable this column, it allows you to already post a comment from here by just clicking that, right? Now, if you want the comment to be visible and you just don't want this kind of like icon and a number beside it, then you can use latest comment instead. So that's just the difference between these two. So as you can see here, we can see the last comment, like the exact text, while here you can see how many. So for the sake of saving space, I prefer using the comment section. So again, it will depend on your preference, and I will just hide that. And then another optional thing here that you might want to add is the date updated. So you can just click that so that you can see when was the last time this particular task has been touched. All right, so this one, I'm happy with this one already. So once you're good, what I would do is duplicate this, duplicate, right? And now this I will call completed. So we can call this completed. And instead of date updated, what I would do is instead enable the date close so that we know when was the task has been closed. So I'll hide the column, and then I will also remove the groupings, because what we're gonna do here is we're just going to show tasks that are in the close status, right? So click this. Confirm. So as you can see, it's here now. So I removed the groupings because it doesn't make sense to have a groupings because it's only one task anyway. And then what I would do is sort it by date close so that the most recent one that you've closed will stay on top and the oldest one will be at the bottom. So for example, let's just close this task one, right? So if we go to completed section, as you can see, the task one is on top. So that's just the idea. Now we're happy with this. I mean, this is the standard list. Now, if you want to create something for yourself, you know, that you don't want to share with a team, then what you can do is create a list here, right? So you can just create my task, for example. And then when you create here a new list, as you can see, it will show you again the default list in ClickUp. So if you want to save time and you just want to actually have, you know, the same setup that are like in this section, then instead of duplicating it, duplication is okay, but there's a more efficient way of doing this. And that is to turn this one to a template. So go to templates, save as template, and then let's name it standard template. So you can use this over and over again and then just add any views that you want to add, right? Let's just customize import items so that we don't copy the task, all right? And we only want to copy the views and also automations. Save template. So yeah, so if you have any sort of automation as well, it will also like allow you. and I'm going to show you there. So here, let's just add, instead of list, now what you will want to do is actually go to from template, right? And then select that standard template, use template, and then you can now rename this. So let's call it my task. But again, I told you I'm a fan of emojis. So maybe I'll just do coffee here. All right. And then you can just use template. So as you can see, it copies the view. So you have the main view and you also have the completed view, right? So you can also change this or move it up like that, right? And then you can add your own task in here. Now I'll show you the basics of automation as well. So in ClickUp, you can also set an automation. If you're in the free version, you have 100 automations available. So let's just say every time, since this is your task, right? So what you want to do is that every time that there's a task added, you want to assign it to yourself immediately so that you don't have to click it and select your name there, right? So the way how you do that is go to automations. And then here, it's really basic. Even a beginner, you don't have to know the complex, part. It's really basic here in ClickUp. So task, you can just say apply this to task. Or if you want to apply it both on task or subtask, then you can just add that. So task created, and then, so this is the trigger and this is the action. So now what you want to do is assign it, right? Change assignee to me. Okay. Another option you have is task creator or triggered by. So for this, I'll just select myself there and create. You can rename this as a best practice, rename your automation so that you know which one to edit later on. So new task added. So now when we add a new task, right? You'll see that it will automatically get added to me. As you can see there, that's automation in itself. All right. And then you can just add due date. So let's just say 24th, 18th, right? So like that one. All right. So that's the fourth one that I will be doing, which is to basically set up the standard task management list. Again, you can always add as many task lists here. You can add your content creation workflow here, your CRM. You can even use this one as your brain dump. So depending on those, I will be creating a separate video for that as well. And the fifth thing that I would do is to configure the everything section. So one of the other questions that I also get is there a place where I can see all of the tasks across all my team? And the answer is yes. And that is in the everything section. So that is where you can set that up. So as you can see, when we go to the everything section, we can see all of the tasks. And I know, again, it might be overwhelming and it doesn't look organized at all, at least in my eyes. So let us organize this one. So the usual setup that I would do in this case would be to rename it, right? So let's call it all task. So it's good renaming things so that we know exactly what that view is. And then in the grouping section, you will see this also grouped by list. So what I would do is just turn that off. And again, as you can see, it gives us a notification. That means that the autosave is not turned on. So we can just turn on that as well. And also, let's change the grouping. So usually it's a status, but in this case, it would make more sense to actually group it by due date. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, is to group it by due date. Now we have it here. It's getting organized. And now we have assignee, due date, priority. What I would add here is the status so that it's visible. And comments, again, as I mentioned earlier. And then lastly is, instead of updated, what I would do is list. Okay. So the list will allow you to see where that particular task is located. So let's just add some due dates here, more due dates. So let's just say this one, right? You can also select, multi-select. So the way how you multi-select is just click that first one and then shift in your keyboard and then click up until where you want to select the task. And then you can just choose on that upper side, right, the due date. So let's just say this is due on 18th. All right. So as you can see here now, you can see now the task by due date. You can see who are the assignee, right? And all that. Now, let's just say we have some sort of overdue task. It will also show up in here. But again, especially if you are a big team and there's a lot of overdue tasks within your workspace, you don't want the top section to be filled with overdue. So the another alternative there is to actually duplicate this view and use the filtering section again. So in this case, I would call it overdue. Overdue task. All right. And once I have that, I will just filter and then tell ClickUp to only show me data that has an overdue task. And as you can see, I can only see all the overdue tasks here. Okay, and also here, I will apply the same filter, but instead I would say due date is not overdue. And now it will remove the overdue task, as you can see, right? If you are using time tracking, you can also turn on time tracking in here, right? So you can also show that as well. So again, depending on your preference. So this is what I would do. I won't use board section in the everything section, so I'll just delete that. The calendar might be optional, but in this case, since our purpose is to only create a basic task management, I would also delete the calendar view. And I would probably pin the all tasks so that it remains there. If you are in the paid version of ClickUp, one thing that you also want to show here is the team view. As you can see here, we will not be able to do this because it's only in the business version. So, but yeah, this one will show you like the distribution of tasks across the team. So that's the other thing that I would also just show there. All right. And lastly, that's all actually that I would do here. And then lastly, I just want to briefly touch on the sharing permission. So for example, we set up this My Task and you want it to only be accessible by you or you want to put it in private, then you can just select the three dots and then sharing and permissions and then make it private. Now it's only going to be visible for you. So that's how you also set that up. Okay, and lastly for this video is also configuring the home section. So another question I get most of the time is where can I go to see all of the tasks that is assigned to me? And that is in the home section. So if you go in the home section, this is the usual setup. You can see all of this. I will create a separate video again for this. I'm telling you because ClickUp has a lot and so I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. So I will be cutting it into pieces so that we will get into it more deeper. So, but for the usual setup or like just, the beginner type of setup, what I would say is in the card section, the only thing that you actually need here is the My Work assigned to me. Personal list is optional, but okay, I will turn that on. Assign comments, lineup, I will also remove that for now. Okay, and then as you progress using ClickUp, then eventually you can add these features in your home section. So the way how I would format this is have the My Work on top, the assigned to me in this section, and then assign comments on top as well. So that if anyone from the team assigns a comment to me, it will show up here, right? And then the assigned to me section will be in this part. So here again, the assigned to me, you can change the grouping however you want it. So usually I will just put it in due date and then I will just add the usual things that I showed you earlier, which is the comments, the assignee, the status, right? And also the list. And then you can always change how it is, or you can always change the order of this one. So let's just say like this. And that's it. So for example, if we change it in progress, you can see it in progress. As you can see, I can see all of the tasks that I have, right? And here, up here, you can see how many overdue tasks I have, if there's any, and then how many tasks are in the next section. Okay, so that's how it is. And then the personal list, you can actually use this as your brain dump. So anything that you add in this section will not be viewable by any of your team. It will only be viewable by you. So it's really private. So let's say you add a task here, right? This is the only location where you will find this task. Now, for example, later on, you want to move it to, let's say, to the admin task. Then you can always just add or move, and then you can choose where they want to move it. So that's just this one, the personal list. And yeah, so that's it. So that's basically how I would set up the workspace if I were new in ClickUp. And probably the last thing that I would recommend is to use the platform consistently, because that's how you're going to improve your ClickUp process or system over time. So make sure that as you use it every day, take down of those notes that are missing, and also you'll be able to see the things that you don't use a lot, and so it makes sense for you to just kind of like remove them. Again, don't think too much about all the available features in ClickUp, but instead focus on using the platform regularly until you get the hang of it. And most importantly, don't give up easily. At least give yourself a week or two before you decide whether ClickUp is the best project management tool for you. And just a little disclaimer, this video is not sponsored by ClickUp in any way. I'm just really a big fan of this platform, and I just want to help someone out there who's struggling to get started with ClickUp. You're probably new in ClickUp, but just so you know, I am also new in creating videos like this. So if you want to see more content like this, leave a comment below and let me know what else you'd like to learn about ClickUp. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again on our next video.